Hi there, Simone here. Come on in, check in, let us know where you're joining us from. We are back once again for another candid conversation. Today, it is all about reviewing the new China Friendship Hospital. What are your experiences been? Do you think that the service requires additional work? Are you satisfied with the service? Because let's face it, we spend all our time reviewing restaurants, reviewing different services, but have we reviewed the China Friendship Hospital? So today we are joined by Dr. Triphi, Dr. Margaret Triphi Wallace from Dominica, living right here in Atlanta. She's my neighbor in Atlanta. Well, not quite, but she's close enough to be considered my neighbor in Atlanta. And she's here to tell us about her and her family's experience at the China Friendship Hospital. And before we get started, I know that we are very quick. Before we start to review or criticize anything in Dominica, we're very quick to say, we're crying down the country, why we're speaking negatively about the country. Oh, it's not only in Dominica. But first and foremost, our only concern on this program, this platform, is Dominica. So our concerns will always be surrounded Dominica. And the second thing is, it is okay. That song comes to mind. Nuka shade kot Dominic pu Presley. Nuka shade kot li pu critique. I think you can finish the rest of the song if you're from Dominica. So it's very important. We spend 90% of our time here on Push Past 10 celebrating the achievements of Dominica, including Dr. Triphi, who's going to join us today in a little while. But we also have to review important services in Dominica. So we have to have these candid conversations so that we know what is going on the island. And for many of us, now that the protocols have been lifted to fly into Dominica, many of us will be going home. I'll be going home in June. So we want to know, in case of an emergency, do we need that insurance where you're able to fly out of Dominica? And I'm being absolutely clear and honest about this because, as you will hear from Dr. Triphi's experience, it is not always a good experience at the new hospital. So come on in, share the live. Let everyone know that we are here as we welcome Dr. Triphi to the program. Dr. Triphi, unmute your mic. How are you? Let's see if I can unmute you.
I am well. I am well. I am well. Thank you, Dr. Simone, for having me.
Yes, and thank you so much for joining us. Of course, you've been on my platform before quite a few times, and we want to thank you for that. As a matter of fact, I like to think of you as our resident psychologist because every time, we have a mental health question, we have a mental health concern, you're the one that we look to for answers. So I really want to thank you for being here with us today.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I'm always happy to come to share. I try my best to be a straight shooter.
Yes, yes. So for anyone who's less familiar with you, just kind of reintroduce yourself and tell us who you are.
Okay, so I am Dr. Triphinia, Tone, Margaret, Wallace. I am from the most beautiful island on the planet as we know it today, called Dominica, not to be confused with the Dominican Republic. They're a different country. We're an island, and they are connected to Haiti, and they're further up north. We are further south between Guadeloupe and Martinique. Okay, so I'm a licensed psychologist in Atlanta. I'm also a licensed professional counselor. I am a trauma recovery specialist. I'm an advanced clinical hypnotherapist. All of those words, what they mean is that I help people heal broken hearts. I like to say it like that. Or I teach people how to think better so they can feel better and do better. I also host a Therapy Thursday podcast called Transforming Trauma on Thursdays at 7 p.m. here on Facebook and on YouTube. And I run a free group for women called Trauma Transformers Tribe. So that's a little bit about me.
Yes, and thank you for being here again. Thank you for making some time within your busy schedule to
Hmm.
be a part of this program. And of course, we want to thank our sponsors who keep us on the air. We want to thank tdnradio.net as well as Badui Financial Services for the support that they program, the support that they provide to keep us on air. So far we see a number of people are coming in, so we want to welcome them. Agnes Romney Brown, always great to see you. Jean Merrifield Bannis, great to see you. Dave Bertrand just posting a message to check in. So post a message, let us know that you're here, and of course, don't forget to share the live. So, Dr. Wallace, just kind of walk us through your experience at the Dominica-China Hospital. So, kind of just walk us through from when you first received the call that a family member of yours was needed to be transported to the hospital, your journey to Dominica, and everything that you experienced.
Yes, so let me preface my talk by saying that I am speaking for myself. I'm not speaking for any other family member. I'm speaking based on my individual experience. My dad is my stepdad. I have two dads. I have a biological dad and a stepdad who raised me from 20 days old. So that's my dad. He is in his mid 80s right now and got a call from family that he needed to be hospitalized. So he was, it seemed to us, it appeared at the time that he might have had a stroke or something like that. And this is the second event he's had within 12 months. So, of course, they rushed him to the hospital in Portsmouth and then to Roseau. Um, I was actually doing a travel therapy trip to Italy for myself, really, part of my healing process. Some of you who followed me know that last year I lost two very close men in my life. My ex husband died on Mother's Day, and my fiance died on December 5th. So I went to Italy to really try to try to reset, recover myself. So while I was there, it seemed to me, based on the information I was getting from my relatives at home, who were the ones who, were going up to the hospital day in, day out, that my dad might not, like, he was getting worse. He was getting worse, and to the point where we were afraid that he would not make it. And let me tell you, terror set in. Terror set in. But before terror set in, anger set in and disappointment. Really, it's disappointment and sadness set in because um, I was getting information from relatives that he was not being cared for. Essentially, he was not being cared for properly. Properly. There's never any absolutes in life, but he was not being cared for properly. And we were really becoming terrified by the second that if we didn't intervene, like he would have gone. He would have gone. So, yes. Doc, what else you want me to tell you? Want
Yeah,
something
so kind of
detailed?
just walk us through. So by the time you got to Dominica, he was already admitted to the hospital in
He had
Roseville
been there. He had been there for 3 weeks already.
already.
So So within those 3 weeks, like within the first week, like I really I don't know what was going on,
Hmm.
but we have there are three nurse practitioners in the family. There are
In your
two
family.
RN in my family.
Okay.
There are two RNs and there's CNA, right? So the family is full of medically oriented people who care for people all over the world right
Hmm.
now. And
So
so,
so let's start. So Dr. Triphi, let's start from when you first got to the hospital. Were you able to go in and see him immediately? Just let us know, because what we're interested in knowing is the complete service that the hospital provides. So from the time you approach the hospital We requested permission to see him. Just walk us through everything. And of course, if you're on the Facebook Live, we would love to hear your experiences as well.
Well, this is the part that I must say in Creole, parce que ito mauvais pour me dire en anglais,
Oh,
pour toute la
okay.
tête honnête. Okay? Mon pour dire en patois parce que it is so embarrassing for me as a Dominican. And so I'll tell you, one of our nurse practitioners in the family whoops, my dad is whoop. One of his relatives, uh, who's a nurse practitioner, went in to see him within the first week and a half. And yo jwen nom la, uh, toutouni, essentially,
Ite
um,
tutuni?
essentially toutouni, on
Akabanli?
akaban la à l'hôpital là, on bobo te commencé qu'a fait à si you got his case a hanche bon that you know like your hip as the hipsly um um comme c'est dit médicament là treatment là care là you know il connaît ou supposé ba on moun avait qualité symptoms papa mwen prezente ve, kom si di, I ka di, sasaye nan, sasaye, eve, ti fila, I pet tet li, asi eve koumanse eklate. She was very upset. And why would you not be upset if you go into a hospital and you find somebody you love, your
So
relative?
he had an open sore. Is that what you're
Ite ka
saying?
koumanse, ite ka koumanse, sa ki ka, yo ka kiye sa bed so, te ka koumanse. Evet, nom la sorti vini la, you know, le vini I pate ni pièce dot problem. But by the time she got there, he was diagnosed with pneumonia. Somehow he caught pneumonia, but he didn't leave the house with pneumonia that anybody can recall.
Right. So what symptoms was he presenting when he was admitted to the hospital?
He presented with something that to us looked like a stroke. And I think for a while the medical people thought was a stroke. Mais lay discharge as the paperwork là, nous ka vwe c'est un bagay qui related to diabetes. Cause you know like comme si di pou mwen ça c'est un disconnect parce que si on moun à l'hôpital pour yon semaine, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, parce que il restait là about un mois. By then, comme si we should have known what was going on.
Right.
Assez pour di famille là, c'est ça qui a fait. Honnête? C'est ça qui a fait. So what was on the discharge was completely different to what we had thought. Parce que nous quoi, c'est un stroke qui teni, mais comme si c'est un diabetic event.
So tell us about the service. So you get there and you're allowed to see him. So this is like 3 weeks into him being at the hospital. Now tell us about your experiences with the nurses, the doctors. What was your experiences like?
Okay, so I was lucky because by the time I got there had been enough hell raised that un gentil, a kind, on quality control, someone who does like auditing, you know, who looks at the services and says, okay, you know, if you have a complaint, you go to that person. That person was very helpful.
Now, let me ask you about this, though. Let me ask you about this. Put a pin in it right there. Now, was that person brought in because your family members had been complaining about the quality of the service?
Yes. Yeah, because we were calling, because we were, look, there were times during the visitation, even prior to when I got there, when relatives would come up to the hospital after having driven an hour and being told no visitation. The thing about that is a person leaves their home. Yesterday it was okay to visit.
At that time.
Yes, they have followed the rules. They are every 2 days you've got to get tested, which is great. I love that policy because you're trying to make sure you don't bring in COVID and to people who are already sick. That's great. So relatives were getting tested regularly so that he always felt that somebody was there. Mais une fois yo changé OITE, et yo mette under isolation.
Why?
Nous still pas really connaître pourquoi parce que yo pas dit nous ever you take a it's the approach and the attitude when you ask questions. Yon fois yo fermé on la porte de visual
Déjà où?
c'est moins pas moins en visual c'est
Oh,
moins
pourquoi? Pourquoi?
parce qu'il take a malédiction ever c'est moins comme moins gentil tout c'est moins c'est gentil except for one that's a firebrand. Okay.
There's always one in the
It's
family.
always one.
We
Except for
have
one
some in
that is a
ours.
pepper. You don't want to cross. To say somewhere gentle, and they'll ask, you ask a reasonable question because this is your relative. You want to know what's going on. Well, why is he in a different placement right now? Yesterday he was in regular whatever. Why is he in isolation? Your party deep, your party deep, and it's the way, it's the interaction, the manner of interacting without being calm and explaining to another adult what is going on, an adult who has every right to ask questions about their hospitalized relative.
Right.
Because a lot of these problems had already been addressed. So when I got there, you're not just when he had stopped talking to us.
Wow.
Yeah, he had stopped talking to them. And this is a man who is, I mean, everybody from my village in Cottage, they know Whoop.
La
Whoop,
parole.
slap our wall. Whoop, he talks to everybody. He's
Right.
just a jovial man. And
Mhm.
he'll crack jokes with them, with the nurses and
And
stuff.
here just shut down.
He shut down.
Yeah, so you were talking about the quality control person that came in. So tell us about that experience because
That was a
clearly enough
positive.
complaints had been brought to their attention that
That,
they
yeah.
thought it necessary to bring in the quality control person.
I think that potentially saved his life. I think that potentially saved his life because, sometimes when you're very ill, you're fighting so hard already for your life, you can just give up given the environment where you are. So if where you are
Mhm.
is not a healing environment, Crapo could smoke your pipe. And I
Mhm.
think he was there because he said to us that he dreamed our mom who died 30 years ago, and he says she was in glory. The
Mhm.
way he saw her, but she told him, "You can't come yet. You got to go back. You got to go
Mhm.
back. You got to be patient." So he was there. I think he was knocking on that door.
Mhm. Yeah, and before you continue, let's say good evening to Leslie Charles, Rosemary Blanc, Laurencia, Joanna Alfred, my mom, Medina Senhouse. Dave Bertrand says this administration don't like educated Dominicans who they regard as smart and intelligent. Glenda, great to see you. Blessed evening, Simone and guests. So Dr. Triphi, just continue speaking to us about the experience. So was it, do you think, a case of a lack of training in bedside manner with regards to the way that they were speaking to you guys, with regards to just the general process? I mean, are the nurses stressed out? Let's just get to the meat of the matter here. So we hear a lot about nurses leaving Dominicans in droves. Maybe they're underpaid, they're overworked, they don't have the resources they need. So did you get a sense of just what is going on? Why the quality of service was not at its optimal?
Well, I've been, of course, when a subject matter is of interest to you, you start asking questions. So I've been asking questions, and a lot of what you just said is what I'm hearing from people, almost in a way to justify the actions. So what I've heard many things. I've heard, well, the staff are frustrated, the staff are not getting paid enough. One person said to me, um, it's hard for a nurse on their income to potentially even qualify for a mortgage. That
Hmm.
makes me feel sad because everybody should be able to feed their family, especially if you've gone and trained and work in a profession where you're I mean that's a dedicated profession.
Hmm.
Um, so I've been hearing mon pas connaître si ça c'est vrai. I don't know if that's true, but some people are suggesting that it's kind of like a passive resistance sort of approach, where maybe staff, maybe, and I qualified with a maybe staff are frustrated, feeling overworked, feeling overburdened, not compensated enough. And so they have just sort of, they've given up on the patients. But what I'm saying is that that cannot be. There has to be another fix. There's got to be another fix because what we're doing is we're hurting our neighbors when we don't, if we don't care for them. I mean, I've had horror stories. On one team where their uncle fell, ever the family had to come pick the person up from the hospital floor.
Mhm.
Like this is a horror movie. This is a horror movie.
Mhm.
It's a
And
horror.
even going beyond that, Dr. Chief, you know, we had one incident recently where a family friend called the ambulance and they said, unfortunately, we can't come for you. We only have one ambulance.
Well, that's why, that's how again, I like to say I like to mind my business. I'm a gentle, peaceful person. On the day of my dad's discharge, I lost it because we were getting that story. So from the morning we were there, and he told us he was getting discharged before we were informed. And we actually had to go ask to find out if he was getting discharged.
Mhm.
Okay, so they say yes, he's getting discharged, but they're not sure if he can even get an ambulance because sometimes it might be a week before he gets an ambulance. So, what are you saying to a family whose father is lying prostrate on his bed? We have to help him up to even sit for a few minutes. What are you saying to us? Carry him home in a car,
Right.
which is what we were going to have to do. We were going to have to, if they're saying he's being discharged, what are we going to do? Carrying home in the car and he can barely sit up.
Mhm.
So and even with that, there was, you talk to this one, you talk to this person, you talk to this person, or this person went on lunch, or this person went for this, and this person went for that. And I mean, I'm telling you, a couple orderlies, like my heart, like that's where I broke. Like my heart broke when yon se se mwen imade se orderlies la pou mwede. Ever say orderlies la, they just turned their backs and walked away. They turned their backs and walked away and said, "You are not the one to tell us. The nurse is the one to tell us."
Wow.
And we had been there for like 5 hours, sitting
Mhm.
patiently, calmly, waiting. Because I understand, like
Mhm.
many things are going on in a hospital,
Mhm.
so it might take an hour or two or so, but no feedback. The feedback that you're getting is unclear.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm a pet moi. Yeah, I lost it,
Mhm.
and I did a live where I apologized to people if I hurt somebody's feelings. But you've got to understand that families under pressure as well.
Mhm.
They've been under pressure. They have a
Right.
sick family member they love and care about, and if it was you, you would want the same kind of care. So,
Mhm.
yes, I have so many questions about the Hippocratic Oath. What does that mean? If we say we do no harm, I mean, every profession has its ethical codes.
Mhm.
Every profession. I
Mhm.
have ethical codes I must adhere to. So if the problem is I'm not getting paid enough, how can I break my oath to do no harm if I leave a patient on the floor, right? If
Mhm.
I, I have an elderly person just lying in a hospital bed, being non la terre pisa aussi.
Mm.
Like, can you imagine how mind blowing this is? So,
So he laid in his urine.
yes, he was there, and he was not. I mean, so he was not being attended to, not being attended to.
Mhm.
I was like, well, I mean, as a psychologist, I start thinking about pathology.
Mhm.
And on a spiritual level, I think about the law of correspondence, which is as above, so below. So
Mhm.
fish rots from the head. If the system on the ground is so broken, it is not good. It's got to be evaluated. It
Mhm.
cannot continue like that. That is not good because we're harming people. While I was there, somebody sent a text to one of my relatives. Somebody they knew had died, a young enough person, and the long text from that person to my relative was, "You all had better eat well, or else if you get sick and you don't care for yourself well, if you go there, you might not come out." Like,
Mhm.
a hospital is a healing place. So it's not, I love the structure. Like I'm telling you, I was very impressed with the structure. I saw lots more construction being, like
So
happening.
it's a beautiful
Beautiful,
facility.
looking good. For me, what I felt was there was a lack of empathy happening, like there was a through line of a lack of empathy where it didn't matter much to some people. And the some people were enough people that it was very impactful because there were some nurses and doctors who were doing their job from their hearts and really caring for their patients. But there were some who were just being like mean for no reason, very disrespectful in their tone. I mean, I wanted to visit a family member, like a relative of mine who was at the hospital, who I know would have been happy to see me because I haven't seen him in many years, and he's the father of one of my close cousins. I found out he had been injured. I went and I said, and I almost felt like a child. I was like, because by then I had had a week of the tight faces and the meanness.
Hmm.
And I said, "Can I see such and such?" And they said, "No visiting."
And I can imagine the face. I can
I was like,
imagine the face.
"Are you talking to me, an adult? Like I am an adult. Why are you
Now,
talking to me
now,
with this
Dr.
tone?"
Triphi, I have two very important questions for you. First, I want to come to the fact that you're a psychologist and the
Yes.
impact on patients of being spoken to like that. But the other important thing that comes to mind is that there's several medical professionals in your family. And in Dominica, unfortunately, that makes it worse because if you come to them as a medical professional and say, well, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Did you receive any backlash? Did anyone reveal that there were medical professionals in your family? You
No,
don't
because
dare. You
we got
don't
the
dare.
read from the first week. We got the read from the first week that essentially you've got to go in and bow down.
Yes.
There's an attitude of you're in my house, you're in my space, and I've never experienced that anywhere. I'm not sure there's value in it. I'm not sure what the value in it is, but I do know that it's very painful to be on the receiving end of that kind of energy
Right.
as a
Right.
family member already stressed. You know?
Right. And the thing about it is you as a family member, you need to be informed. You need to be able to ask questions about what is going on with your family member. You need to know if maybe you need to fly them out of Dominica because it's a severe case of
Hmm.
something that they're experiencing. And
Hmm.
even when they're discharged from the hospital, you need to have enough information to take care of them.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
this has to be somebody that you're comfortable enough to have these, like you say, grown up conversations with. You're
Yeah.
not a child. You
Yeah.
shouldn't be spoken to in a condescending
Yes.
manner.
Yes. I was flabbergasted. I wasn't sure what the purpose was of
Right.
the tone and the attitude.
Now imagine this now, Dr. Triphi, you're a professional, so you
Yeah.
know to humble yourself, to realize that this is this person's energy, it's not yours, not absorb that energy. We speak in psychology now.
Yes.
But
Yes.
what about
Yes.
the average Dominican
So
who will
I
simply react to that negative energy coming to them? Can you imagine how explosive that can become?
and I felt that's where I think I felt the most pain because I thought to myself, if I have relatives who are leaving the countryside and coming up to the city and being turned away, which I think that's a simple problem to fix. You know, if you tell us, well, this is visiting time, you only have 2 hours because of the pandemic, I think everybody gets that. That's the way it is over here. You know,
Hmm.
that's the way it is everywhere. I think that makes a lot of sense. That's great because you've got to do your work. You know, there are things that you don't want people coming in and out, disturbing the process. But if you're not clear, if yesterday it was okay for me to come, why is it not
Now,
okay for
now,
me?
let me ask you, was it a case where you came during the weekend and you tried to come on the weekend so the hours could have been different on the weekend? Okay. I'm just trying to help the situation. Wow.
And again,
Unbelievable.
I think we're very rule based in Dominica. Like we like to follow, okay, this is the right
Mhm.
thing to do, this is the wrong thing to do. People talk a lot if you do the wrong thing. So I think just a little schedule where everybody knows, well, yeah,
Right.
this is visiting time. That's
Mhm.
great because it saves a lot of
Even
unnecessary
maybe a little packet to the family as you're walking in with some of the hospital rules, the visiting hours, the
on the
policies, the
website.
procedures
On
on
the
the bedside.
website, everybody's got a website now.
Right.
So the website could clearly state what the guidelines are. So you cut down on unnecessary human to human interactions
Right, because your family's coming all the way from Marigot area
and
to
their
to
stress.
Roseau.
I mean, can you imagine? Like I felt, and the thing is, for many of our families, they don't have the money to come back next day.
Right.
They don't have the money to come back next day. And
Mhm.
the part that really hurt for me was the fact that, yes, we got help once we spoke to the quality control person, but how many of our people don't know they can access that support? And how
Right.
many of our people don't have the language to clearly articulate their needs. They just know they're feeling frustrated and
Mhm.
hurt and stressed out and overwhelmed. That's the part I say where we're hurting our neighbors. We're hurting our family, their cousins. It can't be that you have to wait until you know who I am to
Right.
give me proper care. That
Mhm.
is, this is
And
very,
then I hate to bring it up because it's just begging lots of questions. Would you have been treated the same if you maybe were a foreigner?
if I looked clearly foreign, if I looked
I
clearly
wasn't gonna
foreign,
say it, but thank you for bringing
yeah,
it
if
up
I were,
because
yeah.
it begs that question. But tell us about that interaction with the quality control person. What the interaction was and what was the outcome.
Well, um, when we found out about the sore forming on his body and the pisa, you know, naked in his bed, that was like, okay, like time out here, like you're not gonna kill him on our watch, right? If
Right.
that's the intention, this one's not. He's not ready to go. Because as for me, I couldn't. I mean, really, I stopped. My heart did this, so it kind of froze because the news kept getting worse and worse. And I was like, okay, Lord, I guess you're trying to take me out because look, you're about to take my dad too, you
Hmm.
know? And yeah, it's just like, look, I'm like I just had a break for, like, I'm just still at a loss for
Hmm.
words because it was
Right. And I'm
so
so happy we're doing this
painful.
program, Dr. Triphi, and I really want to thank you for stopping by to tell us about your experiences because now our audience know that if you're having a really tough time communicating with the staff, the administration at the hospital, there is another option you can take.
Yes,
You can
yes,
seek out the
yes,
quality control
exactly.
person at the hospital to intervene on your behalf. And it's so sad
It's
that
very
we have
sad.
to
And I
get
felt
to this level.
I felt actually bad for the person because she was getting it from, I mean, from all of us, question, pow, 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 why, what is this, pow, 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 pow.
Yeah, all the questions you've been trying to ask, but
And you
you feel you
can't
could
say
not
it.
ask.
Yeah, yeah. That is not a healing. That cannot help healing. That's not. And we go to train to learn to heal. Again,
Hmm.
one thing I know is that me as a professional, I am the servant of my come to serve my client. I
Hmm.
come to connect with my client because sometimes just me sitting with my client helps my client to heal. And so I know the power I hold as the healer. And my conclusion was, well, if we have people who are clearly in the wrong profession, I mean, I think there must be some sort of accountability where people's performances are being reviewed, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know much about the structure, like who is doing what. But every organization that I know has ongoing checks and balances.
Hmm.
Ongoing, I mean, even from your clients, you ask for suggestions.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, Dr. Trufi, because my husband is a physician, and they have customer service
Yeah.
surveys at the hospital.
Absolutely.
He is rated on his service, because when he
Absolutely.
first told me that, I'm like, you have customer service rating
Yes.
at the
Yes.
hospital, you have sick people evaluating you, how can that
Yes.
be right?
Yes.
And he said it is because the hospital wants to ensure that the medical staff and the administrator are living up to the expectations of the patients.
You know the
So
additional
he is
thing?
rated on a weekly basis on his
Absolutely.
bedside manner.
Absolutely. Because the other thing is, no matter how good we are, we can become better.
Yes.
Like if we say, I have reached the pinnacle of my learning, I need to learn nothing else. What happens is you just start going down.
Mm-hmm.
If you know everything and there's nothing more to learn, this
Mm-hmm.
is a fixed mindset that doesn't serve anyone.
Mm-hmm.
In that kind of profession, again, because we're dealing with life and death and so
Yes.
much pain and trauma, people are coming in traumatized. They don't know that you didn't get paid the salary you think you should get paid. I would say to that everybody has a right to say, think, feel, be, do whatever they want to do. So if something is not working for you, you have a responsibility to say no. And that
Mm-hmm.
no should be leave that position.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're going to stay, you have an ethical responsibility to do it in a way that makes your profession look good.
Mm-hmm.
Because I get it that people, again, that may not be getting the money they want and they're frustrated. I get it. But that is not a good strategy. Why is it not a good strategy? Whereas I might have been on your side 2 months ago and might have been going to bat for you, if I'm feeling like you're trying to take my father out by not caring for him, you've lost my sympathy.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to feel empathy for your plight because I saw how dark you got with another human being. So that's not a good strategy. Whomever suggested that strategy to the staff, that person needs to be penalized, put on some kind of like just exiled. That is not good,
Mm-hmm.
especially because it goes against who we are as Dominicans. Dominican people, we have a concept called Natiwell. And if we lost it, we got to get it again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Natiwell means I have love for other people, animals, the world, people I don't even know. We used to cook enough food.
Oh yes. Oh, my mother.
A
She's on the Facebook
stranger
Live.
was walking by and
Yes.
they were hungry. We
Yes.
used to do that. And that was
Yes.
in my lifetime and your
Yes.
lifetime.
And
So
feed the
we cannot
neighbors.
have
Feed the
changed
neighbors. Feed the neighbors every day. I don't know
every
how the food
day.
used to stretch.
We cannot have changed so much that we have forgotten that. And if we have, it's time for us to remember it because that principle of Natiwell, unconditional love, agape love, love for your fellow man, I think that's that's what's kept us going for as long as we have. Even if we didn't have a lot of money,
Mm-hmm.
our people lived to be
Mm-hmm.
100, 124.
Mm-hmm.
If you take that out, you have nothing to stand on. If you say, well, my check is worth taking this old man out, he's got to pay the price for what I want, what I need, instead of making an adult choice and leaving that job that's painful for you, you have a right to leave. Of course, leave, but you don't need to take anybody out on your way. Just make a choice that's in your best interest, but not one that hurts somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was another gentleman, his family had to leave from my own village, a principal, a man who has served the country, served how many kids who have grown into medical doctors. They were not caring for him. The family had to come rescue their dad, take him to Guadeloupe. We don't need to do all that. He doesn't
Mm-hmm.
need to. Somebody's got to be looking now. The system is broken. It's broken.
Mm-hmm.
It is broken.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody's got to look at that and make some adjustments. No, again, from what I'm hearing and feeling, it's deep. It's multifaceted. There are many pieces to this. I think also we have made a mistake in Dominica to conflate everything we do with politics. We've made a huge mistake. Politics is just your ideology. It's just that You see it this way, I see it that way.
Mhm.
That's what does that have to do with how you do your profession,
Mhm.
how you do
Yeah,
your
because the answer to that question is probably if you don't serve some politician, you may not have that job tomorrow.
well,
So
that
that's why everything
means
boils
so
down to
that so
politics.
there so what I would say to that is you have to remember your your sense of agency, meaning I have a divine right to success and abundance. If that means I've got to leave this, that's what I do. And I
Mhm.
make a different plan. But if I'm going to stay, something else must shift in me and change to be okay where I am. It's like being in an abusive relationship.
Mhm.
Mm? We tell the person being abused, you must leave. Mm? Make a
Mhm.
plan and leave. Because if you stay, parts of you will die. Even if you don't die physically, parts of your soul will die. So
Mhm.
that's that lack of empathy I'm seeing. Parts of the soul dying. No, you don't have to let yourself become a victim to that kind of system. I know everything hurts. Most things in life hurt when we're trying to do better or different because change hurts. So, if that job as a nurse, as a doctor, as a CNA, whatever, at that hospital is so painful, you've got to decide where your line in the sand is. Either I'm going to stay and I'm not going to complain, I'm going to do my job well, or I'm going to make a different choice and I'm going to leave, like many people are leaving and going off to England and going off to wherever else.
Just the other
But
islands, the
exactly,
pay is better just in little St.
yeah.
Kitts.
The answer cannot be that you lose your soul and you lose your soul. You give up a part of your soul if you watch an elderly man on a bed and you don't change him.
Yeah, and I'm really thankful for you and this conversation that we're having, Doc. And we must approach this from the psychology of it as well,
We
because
have to.
you're a highly qualified psychologist, and I know that you made many observations, both in terms of the long-term impacts on the nurses, because constantly having that negative energy cannot be helpful, cannot make your home a healthy place. So the impact on your family as well as the impact on the patients, the healing process. But before we do, I have to tell you, Doc, we have a wave of comments on the Facebook Live, and we are going to take your comments in just a little bit. So thank you for your patience. But I also want to make sure we say good evening to other folks who are joining us. Mr. Leon Lando, always great to see you. We have Nick Ty, Ms. Blessed, Dia Shapsman, Semi, Della, John Thompson, Francis. Let's see who else we have. Annette Phillip. So we have quite a few people who are joining us, and I'm going to come and take your comments in just a little bit. Robert is here. Nice to see you. Desdemonia Pierre Louis is here. Nice to see you. Soph Strigo, Kitty Pierre, Auntie Kitty. Wow, long time no see. Thank you for being here. Annabelle Love, Margaret Joseph, Verna Shillingford. We have quite an audience, Dr. Triphi. So thank you for telling us about your experience. Lydia Harrison, Richard Phillip, Alison Fontaine Hodge. Great to see you, Alison. Thank you for being here. Peter Dover, Frederick Barra. Nice to see you. Leonie Daniel. So we're going to take a couple of comments in just a little bit. But Dr.
Mhm,
Triphi, as a
mhm,
licensed psychologist,
mhm.
with your own business, with your own practice, with your own experiences, let us talk about the psychological implications of carrying that negative energy with you, which the nurses, most certainly the administration, the doctors, are most certainly carrying with them in the hospital and maybe when they leave, as
Absolutely.
well as the implications for healing
So
of
there is
that
a
negative
law.
energy.
There's a law. There's an energetic law of vibration. And if I tell you this, sometimes you're in a room and somebody else comes into the room and you feel something different. Or sometimes you walk in on two people and you know they were talking about you because your
Mhm.
body reads the energy. So we are beings full of energy. That energy, of course, is it could be high up there, right? Or low down there. right? If it's low down there, what you're going to have is disagreement, confusion, death, illness, just not good stuff. And you can raise your energy, you can raise the vibration, yeah, to get to the ultimate, which is like think of God and light and goodness, yeah, healing, the best. Okay, I think there needs to be an energetic shifting happening in the hospital. And if it cannot come from the top down, then the bottom up is going to have to do it. Meaning, if me as an individual nurse, individual doctor, I know there's a problem, what did Gandhi say? Gandhi, be the change you wish to see. So
Mhm.
I understand it's painful, but if you chose to stay there, and I don't want to hear, I don't have a choice. We always have a choice. The choice I make might not feel as good, but I always have a different choice. And sometimes we don't trust in Dominica, I think, the unknown enough to take risks and chances that the new thing I create will be better than this piece
Mhm.
of hell. You understand? So we've got to change the vibration, because even just having that kind of energy, again, as a healer, because sometimes I'm telling you, the healers stand in the gap for the sick person. The healer stands in the gap for the sick person. So if that person who's my stand in the gap person, is their vibration is down there, what can they give me if not that? So if I'm the healer and I know I am off, I am way off where I started, I started with excitement, I started with energy, man, I really want to do that, you know. And you realize that you are in a place where you're feeling bad all the time. mm, you're upset, you're grumbling a lot, you're frustrated a lot, your energy is low. It is not conducive to healing. And I think a lot of people have felt the brunt of that, and many people who went to the hospital, who did not have to die, they
But
left.
but Doc, don't we also have a responsibility to change our perspective? Because
Absolutely.
we have a choice. I think sometimes many of us
Absolutely.
think that, our feelings are what they are and there's nothing we can do about it. We can pick our own attitudes. Let me just give you a very basic
Absolutely.
example. Let me just give you a very basic example. Back maybe about 3 4 years ago, I was the type of person, if I woke up and I didn't feel like I had slept well the night before, I was miserable the whole day, just because in my mind, oh my God, I didn't sleep well last night.
Yeah.
I'm going to be
Yeah.
miserable. I'm tired. I'm grouchy. And my whole household would pay for it.
Yes.
Right. And then I thought
Yes.
to myself, but you don't have to.
No.
You don't have to sit
No.
in that thought all day. You can simply change your perspective.
That's
So,
right.
yes, you might be in a miserable job. Yes, you may be unhappy. Yes, there might be no other options. Because I think, in a small society like Dominica, where else are you going to go? You're a nurse. That's it. But
I could give
you
some
can
ideas.
change your perspective.
I got some ideas, Doc.
Yep. Go.
What I would encourage, here's the thing. Everybody, I think we forget how creative we are as human beings. COVID was a gift in many ways because it gave us a year at least to just sit and look on the internet to see what other people are doing. I hope that's what many people use the time to do, because you would have seen so many ways you can use your nursing experience and degree.
Mhm.
There's home health. You could buy a little vehicle and decide, hey, family, you all pay me a certain amount. I'm going to come give your family care.
Mhm.
Hmm? You could do
Mhm.
home health. You could create courses and teach people online.
Right.
You could
Right.
decide, I'm going to be the one on the island who's going to train, help new nurses pass their exams to get
Mhm.
licensed. There are
Mhm.
different ways to make money. There are different ways to make money. And one thing a person cannot take away from you is what you've already put in here. They cannot take it away from you. They
Mhm.
cannot take your experience away from you. So I'm encouraging people who are feeling so distressed in whatever job, whatever thing you're doing,
Mhm.
use this God-given creativity. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's so many other people doing fabulous things with this thing you already know. Start there. And
And I think it's so easy to say, well, my manager not treating me well. These Dominicans, they don't have no respect. If they don't respect me, then why should I respect them? But before you answer, let me just say a pleasant good evening to Mr. Wayne Liebert. Great to see you on the Facebook Live. Sabria Senhouse, Matthew Mills, Shane Captain Seraphine, Evelina Blah, Astrid Peanut. We have quite an audience. So if I missed anyone, my apologies. Thaddeus James, Black Pepper, good to see you. Go ahead, Doc.
yeah, I think you cannot surrender your divine essence as a human being. All
Mm-hmm.
of us have access to divine, to godness. All of us have access to it. So the idea that I am stuck is something you're telling yourself.
Right.
I promise you, it is. I understand why you might say it. It feels like, oh God, I have no choice. I understand that. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
saying, Dr. Simone, I used to think that way,
Mm-hmm.
but that
Yes.
is not, it's so not
You
true.
are not married to your thoughts. That's what I
You're
tell
not.
myself. You are not
You're
married to your
not.
thoughts. Your job might suck. You might work with
Yes.
the worst people in the world. The patients might be impatient, but
Yes.
you have the option to change your perspective. Or like
Every
you say,
day,
figure out another way to not be
another
in
way.
an environment if you believe it's toxic, because you cannot
Absolutely.
take it off out on sick patients.
You
And then that
can.
leads us also, Doc, into the impact on the healing of the patients. How does a toxic environment impact patient healing?
And how does being toxic and being mean and terrible to a patient impact you yourself as an individual and your karma? What are you storing
Mm-hmm.
up for yourself and your children and your
Mm-hmm.
grandchildren? Like,
Mm-hmm.
really, what are you doing? These
Mm-hmm.
people are the most vulnerable. You're
Yes.
the most vulnerable you can be,
Mm-hmm.
on your back, flat down, helpless. And this is where you choose to exercise your power. Something is twisted in the thinking, very dark. It's very, very, very dark.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a mistake. Wherever it got implanted, and again, because it's so pervasive, I say, I like to say fish rots from the head. I mean, I'm not accusing anybody. I don't know how it's run, but I'm just saying if it's happening, whomever is at the top has been sleeping
Mm-hmm.
or has not been enforcing the policies and procedures that the hospital is being run by. And I bet you there are policies and procedures that somebody can go put their hands on. Somebody's not training and retraining and retraining. Look, my sisters
And
are
maybe there are no consequences for bad
no
behavior.
consequences. There must be consequences because it's not correct.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is getting a bad name.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. So I think, oh, I might be mad at the government because they're not giving me the money I need. So I'm going to do this. But you're the one right there in direct contact. You're the one doing the bad thing. You think life is going to reward you for doing the bad thing because somebody did something bad to you?
Mm-hmm.
You're doing the bad thing to an innocent. So you're out of
Especially
order.
the elderly. Unfortunately, your dad had a lot of people visiting him. But what about those folks who do not have the voices to speak up for them?
And that, I'm telling you, I cried. That hurt my heart because
Mm-hmm.
our people are not like our many of our parents. They don't have the best words to come and talk
Mm-hmm.
to a doctor or talk to a nurse, right? And they already feel less than coming in. You know how we like to respect our authority figures.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor knows everything. The nurse, nurse la di mwen oui, nurse la di mwen, docteur la di mwen oui, docteur la, comme si the doctor la c'est bon
And
Dieu.
that's gospel.
You understand? So what
Mm-hmm.
kind of God is that? What kind of bon Dieu is that if that bon Dieu is treating me terribly in a
Mm-hmm.
place where I came to heal, to go back
Right.
home to my family? It is
Right.
out of order. I,
Mm-hmm.
I, I really am so upset about it. I've
Mm-hmm.
had people reach out to me and say, be careful, people will say you're being negative. But it's a negative thing, it's a nasty thing. It's dark to
Mm-hmm.
leave a person, somebody tell their uncle fell and the family had to go pick up the man off the floor. Do you
Mm-hmm.
understand that is a lifetime movie?
Yeah, and I mean, we spend so much time reviewing everything else, hospitals and this service and that service, but yet we cannot talk about a life-saving institute such as the hospital and our
But why would
request
a
that the
person never
services
be able,
improve.
why would I not be able to talk and say
Right,
something is not working?
right.
If it's good, it's good. If it's not
Mhm,
working, it is not working well. There are pieces that work, I'm sure, because nothing is always or never. But the system is not working well. If a family has to get better care, only if they go to the quality control
quality
person,
control. Wow.
it is broken and it must be
Mhm,
evaluated
mhm,
because it's a system. Let me tell you, and you know this, and everybody knows this. I have a little community-based mental health agency. Honey, every 6 months, somebody comes in from the
mhm,
outside to evaluate what I'm doing.
mhm,
Why did you write this note? How come you didn't sign? Why did you not put your proper credentials?
mhm,
You didn't? The note gets sent back, and the money they paid you, you've got to reimburse it to them, honey.
mhm,
Consequences. So that what does that do? That tells you you got to be on your P's and your Q's. So yes, you might lose a little bit, but you're not going to lose a lot. I mean, it's like the what is it? It's like the fox has been let loose in the hen house.
yep.
If there's no consequences and
Mhm,
no other eyes, there must be external eyes, external, not
mhm,
people who have a subjective relationship with anybody in the system. There must be external eyes, objective, that can come in and just have their little auditing sheet, their little rule book. Based on your policies and procedures, you said when a client comes in, this is what we do. And this is what we do for discharge. Let's see how many times you did it.
mhm,
Check, 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 check. If it's not happening on an ongoing basis, you've got a broken system.
mhm.
And it cannot be what hurts my heart is that's the main hospital.
Yep.
This is the last stop.
Mhm, mhm. But Doc, as our time is winding down, we have to take some of the Facebook Live comments. So kind of just make a note of the ones you would like to respond to. And again, I want to thank everyone who's joining us via Facebook Live as well as via YouTube Live for this conversation. I can sure we can all see why this conversation is important. Rosmond, bonsoir, Docs. Good evening, Rosmond. Louisa Jean Pierre, great to see you. No matter how stressed you are, as a nurse, you must remain professional at all times, and manners cost nothing. Jennifer Christmas James, one ambulance still in 2022. Huh, we are way too backwards in this time. It is time we level up. Dominicans, Beverly Johnson is watching from California. Let's see, Rosalind, Severa McLean, great to see you. Aura Burton, that hospital is the worst. Let's see who else we have. Laurencia, I know someone, the same thing happened to them. I think that's when you were talking about someone fell. Dave Bertrand, after Hurricane Maria, Skerrit Assad Putin told, oh Lord, Dominicans that the military vans which China donated were ambulances. Interesting. Glenda, training for customer service is one thing, but employees administering what they learn is another thing. So very true. Rosman, no excuse for not having empathy in such a case. And let's see who else we have. Or Roberta, nope, you cannot ask questions. They will not give you any information in that hospital. Annette Phillip, great to see you. Good luck with your poetry mixer tomorrow. I know it's tomorrow evening, so good luck with it. Whoa, I can't believe I worked at PMH, name at the time, and the doctors, nurses, and clerical staff were very welcoming and helpful. I'm blown away. Wow,
It
interesting.
used to be that way. It
Yes, Auntie,
used to be that way.
Auntie Hummy is locked in from Florida. Great to see you, Auntie Hummy. Annette, hearing that the orderlies ignored her is shocking because the orderlies that were there at the time I worked there were very helpful and was right away to take patients back to their bed after surgery. So let's take a couple more and then you will decide what you want to respond to. Liz
Mhm.
out there in Massachusetts, great to see you. Elizabeth Thomas, what a powerful eye-opening discussion. We have come so far, but still have a long way to go. Thank you for shedding light on the issues. Paula Bellett, the horror stories are real. I need a bottle to tell you what happened with my 95-year-old aunt and her broken arm. It's still happening. Arm was not set by a doctor. 2 days later, it needed to be reset. 4 weeks after, we are being told it was never set properly and now she needs surgery. Really unacceptable. Wow, I'm so sorry to hear that. Madeline Brady, great to see you. Thank you for being here. Good evening. She says, good evening. And Dr. Margaret, nice to see you, Madeline. Deborah, nice to see you. That's why our death rate is so high. Auntie Hummy, anyone else has a bad connection? No, we're good. Thaddeus Vibes, Rosman, even the name Dominica-China Friendship Hospital. Why? But really, we need to do better in terms of treating each other well, especially the healthcare sector. Wayne Liebert, great job as always, Simone. Thank you, Wayne. Great to see you. Aura Burton, worst name for the health facility. Jennifer, or they don't care because they don't sue. Very good point. Aura Burton, the
Consequences.
Dominica-China
Consequences.
hospital, when your family go in, you have to pray to God to come out alive. Oh, it's not funny. My
I
sister was
know.
there, have high blood pressure, and the food was a disgrace. Wow. Jennifer, why the Dominican government didn't name the hospital by one of the native-born Dominicans instead of China Dominica? Aura, my cousin was there last week. She had emergency surgery for appendix, and they did not even have a plaster to cover the cut. So the nurse could not dress the cut. She had to ask someone to bring her plaster. Can you imagine a hospital? Caesarine, Elwin Augustus, Aura Burton, not to be on anyone's side, but I had a major surgery in the US and no plaster was there for the surgery neither. Teresa Durand, great program tonight, ladies. Aura to Caesarina. Caesarina, it depends on the cut. You won't need a plaster, but it was on the phone with her when the nurse came to tell her no plaster. We have to do better, Doc. We have to do better. And I have to tell you, I have another experience to share with you because I had a friend, I'm not going to name her, who went in, had a job opportunity at the psychiatric ward of the hospital. She lasted 3 days. She said to me, I said, oh, how is the job going? She said, oh, I didn't tell you, I couldn't stay because I simply could not believe the way that the nurses and the administrator were treating the mentally ill patients. It was completely unacceptable. And she said the only way she would go back for that job is if she was allowed to rehaul the entire system. Auntie Hammy also says, oh, I have to write my experience of my brother in this God-forsaken hospital. I'll start crying disgusted. Yes, Auntie Hammy, I remember very clearly what happened to your brother, and I'm truly sorry for all the negative experiences. Mildred, Milty, nice to see you. Greg's Roye, thank you for being here. Yes, Doc. So anything you want to respond to?
Well, the piece I want to respond to, I think the most is I've seen a few people, couple things. I'm there should not be so many stories that are saying, yes, listen, this is what happened. Listen, this is what happened. That's how you know there's a problem. So there are trends. So when you come in and you do an audit, you look for trends. And if the trend is a positive one, you keep doing it. If it's a negative one, you stop. Okay.
Mhm.
So the trend of, oh, listen to my story, that's too much negative. We gotta we gotta do better. The other one is politics. Look, politics does not feed you, does not politics pack up a bill zoo. You
Mhm.
understand? The idea that so it's two-sided. The idea that we should not talk about this because of politics and we don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. A politician is thick-skinned. Trust me. They can
Mhm.
take it. And they
Yep.
need to take it. They are there for you. You've what you call it. You voted for them to care for your needs. So you should be able to tell your politician, help me with this. This is not working. Now the problem I see is not a one-off. It's a systematic thing. So we've got to keep. It cannot be that so many citizens are having similar complaints.
Mhm.
So Whomever has the jurisdiction needs to get active. It is
Mhm.
too much. It is too, it's not good. It's not
Mhm.
good.
And like Jean is saying,
Training.
too many bad swords. It's shocking and worrying. And then, Doc, the other thing it brings to mind, we're going to Dominica soon, and I have to get insurance. My mom is well into her 70s, and if something
Yes.
happens, I have to be able to fly her out urgently
But
because from what I'm hearing, I cannot trust the hospital. And it's very unfortunate because if all the
unfortunately,
protocols lifted, we want to be able to go back and forth. But when you have to be nervous
it's
about your
unfortunate.
elderly parent coming with you and what could potentially be the outcome if they fall sick, it's worrying.
It's unfortunate because, like I said, the hospital looks great. It's a beautiful facility. I know we're building many health centers across the country, but it's going to be the same thing if the attitude or if it's a training issue. Listen, when it comes to attitude, all of us know if you come on somebody's job with a sourpuss attitude, they can train that thing out of you,
Mm-hmm.
or you can go home because you're bad business for the whole establishment. We cannot keep tolerating this. It's not correct. Nor is
Mm-hmm.
it healing. It's not good. So, and I hear the argument that people are frustrated. They're not getting enough money. I get that. I think that problem must be solved as well.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot be a nurse and I cannot afford a mortgage on my own.
Forget mortgage. Most of them can't afford a car. They have to be bombing right in the
That's
middle
not
of the
correct.
night to get home. Can you
No, that's not
imagine?
correct. That's not 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 correct. A person should be able to make a living with their profession. So we've got to reassess, reevaluate what we're doing to take care of all people there. But still, look, even in war, you cannot really, it's a crime against humanity to bomb a hospital.
Mm-hmm.
So, how can you, as a medical professional, leave a sick person unattended to? You are creating a crime against humanity.
Mm-hmm.
And even if nobody sees you now, you're building up so much negative karmic debt. You want to stop today. You want to go to confession if you got a priest. Like I am serious about this. You want
Yep.
to go to confession. You want to ask whomever your higher power is for forgiveness that you were seeing it from the wrong eyes. And now you need a new perspective. You need a reset. The thing is, we can become very complacent and everybody just says, "Oh, just they're not good. Don't say anything about it." But how can you get rid of a roach? If you have a infestation problem, when you turn on the light, they scatter. Yeah, they scatter.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to shine a light on problems. Problems are like roaches; they will multiply if we're not fixing them. If you're not cleaning them, if you
Mm-hmm.
if you just watch the roach infestation without coming in with a solution, it's just build up and build up. It's not
And,
good.
yeah, and the other thing I think of too as well, Doc, is if we love someone and we see them going down the wrong path, if we love them,
Yes,
we should
we have
step
to
in and
tell them.
say something. We love Dominica so much that we have to step in and say better can be done. But I also want to ask your opinion about the Marigot Hospital. Do
I
you think you will get quality service? But hold that thought. Let's make sure we greet our Facebook Live people who joined us late. We want to say good evening. Let's see who else is there. Miguel Butler, great to see you, my friend. Marvin Sheldon Boland, nice to see you. Thank you for being here. Judy Wadi, Natasha Maxine Esprit, Sherman Christopher, Ethelyn Vidal is here. We always like to greet everyone who takes time to stop by to join our programs. Junie Bertrand, thank you for being here. Neva George, speak, y'all speak. Thank you, Neva. Francis Bastien is here. Cyrus Regis, Snapalora, great to see you. Marva Charles, let's see what Marva says. I think the charge nurse should be able to monitor the staff on the units and listening to family patient complaints and deal with it accordingly. All healthcare staff is accountable for their actions. So, are you hopeful the Marigot Hospital will be closer to you? You won't have to make that trip to Roseau. Are you hopeful?
well,
Customer service, what are your expectations?
um, The thing is, I always have hope. I'm hopeful because really the
Yes.
reason I'm doing this is because I'm hopeful, because I
Yes.
know who we are. I know who we are. I think sometimes we can get blinded, or like pain can make you forget who you are sometimes. So the pain of not being paid enough might have put some people in a state of real, what they thought was a positive way to deal with maybe pressuring the government to make changes. I think though it's bad strategy, because if you're going to do, if you want, you want other people to feel your pain too, but if you're causing pain and saying but
Mm-hmm.
feel my pain, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. So it's a training. We know what the problems are. So I would say stop burying our heads in the sand and pretending as if it doesn't exist. Train the staff on customer service, bedside manner, even empathy. I mean, as a psychologist, it's hard to teach empathy, but I
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's because we're not empathetic people. I think we got confused with a certain strategy, like it's passive resistance. I'm just not going to do the work. But again, you cannot do that in a healing profession, because you're committing a crime essentially. It's an ethical crime.
Mm-hmm.
So find another way to fight. Find a different way to fight
Mm-hmm.
than that, because this is not going to be good for you. You're not. How am I going to do something
Yeah,
bad to get a good result?
and the other thing about it, though, Doc, is we also have to recognize the limitations of those who might want to do better, because you may feel like you can go and complain, but then there might be backlash against you. So it's very
Well,
unfortunate, because
and
it
that's
almost
and
seems
that is
like people
something.
are in a pressure cooker in Dominica, where everything is just tight on you,
Well,
and
here's
you
the
have to
thing.
watch your every move.
But here's the thing. I think people forget that if you maintain that posture, it's not going to get better for you. It's going to get
Hmm.
worse. If you
Hmm.
meant if you take on, where did you all come up with this idea that you cannot speak up for yourself? Speak louder. You got to speak louder the first time somebody tries to shut you up. You got to speak louder. The first time they try to shut you up, you got to speak louder. And if you start speaking loudly, and I on over here start speaking loudly, pretty soon you got a chorus.
Hmm.
But if you were just like talking, that's why I couldn't, like, I was very upset. I mean, I got the sentiment, I got the person's intention. They said, please be careful. They'll say you're being negative. And I said, that I can't even relate to that thought. I can't relate to that thought that somebody would think somebody would disagree with me. What's wrong with somebody disagreeing with me? It's
Hmm.
okay. There's some people. Why would everybody think like I do? I don't
Hmm.
expect everybody to even empathize with the fact that my father was on a hospital in his pee with a bed sore forming. Somebody would say that's it. Oh, he shouldn't be so old and come to the hospital. Somebody might say that. So I
Hmm.
can't live by what other people will say. Like, who are you? If you have you surrendered your right to be who you are, like yourself? What is this about? I'm not going to talk because somebody will do whatever. Well, put the person on blast. Document what happened and put them on blast.
Hmm.
Don't just take it. Let them mess you over, but keep a record of it and let people see. You understand? But you can't
Hmm.
just be taking, again, it feels like domestic violence, like learned helplessness, What do you call that? The Stockholm syndrome.
Yep.
You're gonna keep doing bad things to me, and I'm gonna say, okay, because I'm afraid to anger you, but you're doing bad things to me. I'm supposed to speak up about this. So I don't
Hmm.
want to hear that, because we have a saying in Dominica, upanipuni wespe ime. So that's another
Hmm.
value of Dominica. You don't have to be afraid of another human being. The other human being is just another human being. If something is not working for you, you have to say, that doesn't feel good. I don't like it. Can we try it like this instead? And if
Hmm.
they're not listening, go ask your neighbor who might have had a similar experience, and 10 of you go.
Hmm. And I want folks to continue sharing their experiences on this Facebook Live, because I think we've made great strides this evening just with regards to knowing that there's a quality control person. I
Yeah.
think that is such valuable information. Jacqueline, I see your comment. Jacqueline Lestrade Blah, you're right, nothing to do with politics. I'm so happy that we can agree that we
Somebody
need to
said,
have
Doc,
this
somebody, I must hit this one, Doc. Somebody said, if I talk, I won't be able to eat. Listen, that means, how many of y'all have heard the saying, If they won't invite you to their table, create your own table.
Yep.
Create your own table. It might be small when you start. Might be small. It might hurt, but look, gel fan oblige manger. Hmm?
Mm-hmm.
Open mouth must eat.
Yep. Absolutely. Auntie Hermie says, Hermelita Watson Duvernay, my son, stepdaughter went in for surgery. Her time was 8:30. She got there all the way from Grand Bay for 8:30 till 2:30 and outside two guest theater, closed door, doctor ready to leave. Well, guess what? They forgot all about her sitting outside. They had to rush her in to do the surgery, and that was last month. Go figure. Yeah, so I want us to continue to share the story because I'm also going to post this on my customer service page right here on Facebook so that we're doing a review and maybe we'll do reviews of other services in Dominica because that is an important conversation and we have these conversations so we know what needs to be improved. I saw recently someone posted in the comment section, they named some of the nurses who are doing an excellent job,
Of
right?
course.
So it is important to recognize those who are
Of
doing an
course.
excellent job. But when things are not working, this is a great platform for us to come together, talk about our questions, our concerns, and what are our recommendations. So I'm really happy that we had this conversation. Liberated and Kuma. I had an experience at PMH2 SAT to express in detail. So, like you said, too many of these
Too
conversations, too
much.
many
Too
of
many
these
stories.
stories.
Yeah.
Glenda, I need to look at the replay because I missed the beginning of the program. Thank you, Glenda. Thank you for checking out the replay as we get ready to wind down the conversation. So, Doc, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for being our resident psychologist. We can always turn to you whenever we have questions, we have concerns. So, just kind of tell us some of the services that you offer. I know that you have an incredible program coming up in June that some of our audience members would like to take advantage of. And if anyone here is not feeling their best, we've gone through so much in the last 2 years and
Hmm.
it just doesn't seem to end. We think we're getting over COVID. Now we're hearing about war in Ukraine. We're
Yeah.
hearing about passport program ending in Dominica. Many people might lose their jobs. So we're dealing with so much and many of us just need someone to speak to. And I'm
Hmm.
so happy that we have a psychologist who is part of our family here on Push Past 10, and that everyone can feel free to reach out to you if they or somebody they know is simply not feeling well. And as a matter of fact, we had an intervention where we recognized that someone was a little bit, mentally off, and we were able to intervene and have a conversation to try to help that person. So thank you for being here. Let's see. God's Flames. I love this program. Good idea. Snapalora. Yes, I missed the beginning, so I'll watch. Thank you guys. Marva Charles. I think the work ethic in the health system needs change and continue education training should be provided to all staff. Tina Bell de Ramon. Auntie Tina, how are you? Nice to see you. Sherman Christopher is Dr. Wallace in Dominica. No, Dr. Wallace is in Atlanta, but I'm sure she does telehealth. So she would be happy to connect with you. So, Doctor, just tell us about some of your services and any
Okay.
upcoming programs that you have.
So again, if you want to follow me, especially for ladies, I have a free Facebook group called Trauma Transformers Tribe. Just
Mhm.
join. We'll let you in, and we share a lot of free tips. I am not doing any individual therapy right now because the therapist must care for the therapist, but I am doing group work. So I working in groups is very powerful because in addition to getting the healing, you get the opportunity to remember that you're not the only one suffering. Plus,
Mhm.
you might make a connection there that could stand you in good stead when things are really rough and you can't get a therapist. So, I am offering a 1 day trauma healing workshop for women June the 4th. 1 day, June the 4th.
Write
And
it down, folks. Write it
write it
down.
down. Go to my website, drtriphi.com, www.drtriphi.com, and you'll find the details. You'll find all the details. I'm talking to women who you're trying to heal from trauma from childhood all the way up. Okay? sexual abuse, physical abuse, domestic violence, whatever it is that you cannot let go of and you still feel pain from this, come, let's remember our authentic selves. You have a right to feel good in this body of yours.
Amen.
You have
Amen.
a right to feel good. So this idea that, yeah, oh, that's just my destiny, I just have to walk around with it for the rest of my life, is so it is we? No, is so it was.
Seko sayewi.
So it was. So it was. So it used to be. Okay, it does not have to be like this anymore. Okay, so I want to invite you, go ahead to drtriphi.com and check out the trauma healing workshop June the 4th. June the 4th. Yeah, I am also take it, when people might behind the way, like you say, around the back way, message me and say, hey, doc, this is going on. What I might do is just right now refer you to someone if you need one-on-one care. Because the thing is, I need one-on-one care right now. So and that's what a professional does. I cannot, in good faith, be going through so much myself individually and not take care of myself and come take care of somebody else
Let
because
me
I
ask you a quick
cannot do.
question. I'm
Yeah,
sorry. Let me ask you a quick question because
yeah,
my audience, they keep me on my toes. So Glenda's like, pin the information somehow. Okay, Glenda, I'm gonna pin the information. So it's drtriphi.com.
correct,
Okay,
correct.
Miss Glenda, you
Yeah,
happy now? Thank you, Glenda. I appreciate you. Go ahead, Doc.
yeah. So yeah, I'm saying that a healer must clean the healing vessel.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem we're seeing over there. We have to do the work to shift ourselves. We're human beings too, so we're suffering too. I get that, but I can't now come and use my patient as my dumping ground. You see? So I'm not doing any individual therapy. I'm referring my individual clients, but I'm working with groups of women because that allows me to work with not just one but many people at the same time. I feel as if I'm continuing to do my healing work and I'm continuing to be there to support other people right now. So
Yeah,
that's
and I
all.
and I want to just say condolences to you because I know you had two significant losses recently. So we
Mhm.
certainly can see why you would need to do some healing work because that is something, we don't grow up talking about. Healing yourself,
Yes.
taking
Yes.
therapy, mourning the loss of someone. We think, the person
Yes.
dies and we just have to move on. C'est la vie. You have to just continue, but you have to take that time to heal
Mhm.
because maybe some of those nurses in the hospital, they haven't healed from some trauma themselves. Maybe you should organize a workshop for them,
I
doc.
would love to. Like, I seriously, I know there's a lot of clearing, emotional clearing the nurses have to do because
Mm-hmm.
think of it, even if they were already traumatized, right? You become traumatized when you do mean things. So just imagine you have a heart. So leaving the
Mm-hmm.
person on the floor, it's gonna hurt your heart, even
It's
if somebody told
unbelievable.
you that's what you should do to make sure they listen to you. The thing is, they're
Mm-hmm.
not listening to you like that, and you're also building up negative karma for yourself. That is
Right.
not what you want to do. No, not
Hmm.
what you want to
Yeah,
do.
thank you, Doc. Thank you so much. I see someone is asking Glenda to start a customer service school, and she might be interested. So I think we have a lot of work to do in that
We do.
area. Emanuela Durand. Hi, Doc. I'm in Georgia. I would like to connect with you. So I hope you saw the website. Hazel Filbert, my friend, great to see you. Good evening. As a healthcare quality professional in the USVI, I am happy to hear that we are having this discussion, which is so important. Patient experience should be one of the highest priority for patients in healthcare. It is great to see that there is a move towards patients advocacy. Thank you so much, Hazel. Great to see you. God's flame, I can't complain because I left Dominica many years, but it was my pleasure working with on a male surgical ward. Jennifer Christmas just linked me up, darling. Okay, I think they're talking about starting that program. Let's see, Jean Merrifield. Thank you, Dr. Simone, Dr. Triphi, for a great program. And of course, I posted the link to your website. So thank you, Doc. Thank you for being here. Thank you for
Mhm.
sharing your experiences, your expertise. And of course, we encourage everyone to follow you. What's your Facebook again?
So I am on Facebook. I'm Margaret Wallace, my personal page. I do a lot of lives from that page, but the group for the ladies is called Trauma Transformers Tribe. Just type that in. You'll find us, ask to join, and we'd love to have you. Yeah, I
Yes,
just want to I have a lot of hope for the system because you must have hope. Sometimes hope
Mhm,
is what carries us until, again, the energy and the vibration gets high enough.
mhm,
Um, I would say if you know a nurse, like encourage them to tap into their strength, man.
mhm,
Your
mhm.
strength, figure out something else to do or get a different perspective, like Dr.
Yeah.
Simone said.
Yes, absolutely. Well, thank you, Dr. Triphi. Always a pleasure having you on the program. We're both in Atlanta, so maybe we will get together and do something really
Yes,
important. Marvelyn
yes.
Brady, great to see you. She says, great program, Dr. Simone and Dr. Margaret. So don't
Thank you,
forget, follow
Margaret.
Pushpa Send. Don't forget, send Dr. Triphi a friend request. Maybe join
Yeah,
her tribe as well. If you go
yeah.
on her Facebook page, you'll get all her
You'll get
information.
the
So that
links. Yeah.
might be a good place to start. So I want to thank
Mhm.
everyone who joined us, everyone who contributed to the discussion this evening. Don't forget to like, push past, and follow us, and click that notification button to know the next time that we go live. We're here to celebrate and promote who we are as Dominicans, our businesses, our culture, our people, and we're also here to have these candid conversations about what is working so well in our beautiful and lovely nature island, Dominica. But as always, we are here to talk about what is not working so well and provide our recommendations. So I want to thank everyone who provided a recommendation, a suggestion, or simply gave some feedback. So Glenda, nice to see you. Hazel, nice to see you. Rosalind, Louisa, it is very late in the UK, so I hope you will get some rest after the program. So again, thank you everyone. Until next time, you take care. Have a good evening. Thank you, Doc.
Bye. Thanks, Doc.
Bye.